All right, finishing up with step 19. There's a little bit of confusion going on here. So without launching this, hopefully, and taping myself, the very first thing that I realized, and I'm just double checking on the instructions, okay, the very first thing I realized is that once you have made this block and tackle, and as you can see, it's pretty good, pretty solid, little bit pointed up, but I think that's supposed to be that way. You need to attach it. They've got that down there. You need to attach it. They have an attachment piece in the back that goes in these two holes back here, but they don't tell you what the part numbers are or what to do. Well, I believe they are part R13 and R14 that I found on the R sprue. I haven't glued them together, glued them on yet, but they go on basically on either side. You don't even technically have to glue them to the thing, just glue them to the trailer, but still, that's important to know. So R13 and R14, I believe it is, at this point in time in building, they're the last two pieces on the R sprue. There's nothing left. So unless you've accidentally already removed them, okay, fine, you want to be that way. The little knobs, little parts go forward. So you make sure you orient it so that these little sweeps and that little narrow part of the foot, that goes to the front. Now, this wants you to angle it more to one side, but they don't say that when you're building it, so that it goes in and it kind of hangs over that way, and you need a bit of an angle to it. Well, at this point, I'll do that by bending that on there, but technically it should just twist. You want to make sure that these run parallel straight up and down and they don't pinch at the top or the bottom. So that's not realistic. There we go. Get a little extra glue in there. That thing is down exactly how I want it to be. Move that over there. Again, make sure that this is the way I want. And honestly, I don't want this moving around. I want this thing on the deck, so I'm gluing that in that joint as well. So this thing will be rock solid in there. And then you take the little tie down part, which is R10, and all you're doing is putting this in the slot square with what it's supposed to be, which is not square to the rest of the trailer, but it goes in and it goes down, and it's just got a little edge just right there that leans on that side. It's not tight at all like it should be in real life. That should go down further. So, since it's not as tight as it should be, I'm going to take and notch it out a little bit, because I want this to look somewhat better than just, oh, why is that part floating? So I'm going to take about what did I figure, about 2 millimeters, maybe, if you need a number. And you could also file, here, let me show you. You could also take a file, like so, and just file it away as well. Not my preferred way of doing it, but you can see it does what it needs to do. I want a square edge. Now let's see if that won't go on better. Yeah, I just about launched that into the stratosphere. Thankfully it didn't go. And I think that looks better. That looks like that's been hand tightened. You can mess around with it and tighten it on more. You can shave away a little bit more stuff if you want something better. But in my opinion, that looks really good. Next thing we're going to deal with are all the little tie downs, and they are just these parts P4, and they just get put on all the way around, and I've messed with them a little bit already, did some preliminary work with the one here at the end, and it's easier to get them in there and glue them on than it is to glue them on, because then all you do is just a little bit of that and it's done. But you got to do all of these little buggers. And yeah, as you can see, they like to move. They like to groove. They want to get down. No, it's not quite that bad. But they don't all want to stay. They have a little bit of tension in there. I'm not sure if that's just a slight glitch in the system, or if they were made to do something more that Hobby Boss, in other words, that you could put them on tight and have them straight up and they'd be good or something like that. But I find it to be less than enjoyable. So all I'm going to do right now is, as I pick them up, put them the way that I want them. So this is the part that just going down takes a little time. And all I'm going to do is up this one side here. I'll do the other side off the camera. Probably should have done that as well. Now, I don't know what these little holes are in the deck yet. I noticed them, and I was practicing the first one, and I thought, I shouldn't always have the parts on the instructions, because then I can't look forward and say, oh yeah, and by the way, this is what's going to be next. And must have gotten just a little bit of glue on my fingertips. So, and I'm glad this happened here. So if you're fighting with a particularly difficult one, because I like putting them in, press fitting them, and then they stick. They don't bounce out like that. But if they do, hold it down with your fingertip and then put a little bit of glue in there, and that should start the process of welding it in there via chemical bonding quickly, and should get it to stay. I don't think, or at least not yet, I haven't run across one that's so physically wound up in this process that it, even with the glue in there, it just bounces out. It's not that bad. But this stuff, these little pieces can be trying. And I just launched that one into the stratosphere. I'm not even going to go looking for it. And I don't know if there are spares or not. I will let you know as it goes on, but that just went across my workbench here. I'm not going to waste the time to go look for it right now. Now, would there be some of these missing? You know, like let's say damage to a vehicle or just missing potentially, but both military and civilian world, these are your tie-down points for your cargo. You really need them. If and they're essentially D-rings is what they're called. And if they go missing, you can be redlined in the civilian world as well as the military world for not having all your D-rings. So I'm gonna say that you gotta have them in there. Now, generally speaking, they're round C shapes. However, because of the way that these are laid into the deck, like so, I'm going to say that they were intentionally made flat. I should have looked up some prototype photos, and there are some out there of these in walk-arounds, but you have to look for the M1000 trailer walk-around. And a number of them tend to be for trailers that are for sale to the civilian world, like they were bought from military surplus and now are on the civilian market. It's not all just museum pieces out there. So that can be a little bit of a challenge. Make sure you know what you're looking at. Make sure you know that it's legit for what you want. In other words, if you're building a military service vehicle, you want to have military service parts and no civilian modifications to that military vehicle as such. This vehicle, this model, as it comes out of the box, is military. Now, I have seen civilian vehicles, civilian vehicles running them as if they are with only the military setup. I mean, this is street legal. The military vehicles are all street legal out of the box, this out of the box. I gotta say that better. All military vehicles in the U.S. Army are produced to be street legal on U.S. streets and are modified to be street legal as what they are, in this case, they transport in other foreign countries by their rules. So, I have seen civilians who have bought in surplus vehicles, trailers, not just M1000s, but also other ones, and they just run them as is, just like military, even with the same coloration. Now, I don't know why this one, so again, here's one that doesn't want to really stick. It gets in there. And now, so I'm going to go in, add some glue, and that keeps it there. So I've just done the whole run down this side. I will do this side off camera. Moving on, and as you can see, I've still got a whole bunch of them right there. There are 30 given in the, I'll take my baggie here. There are 30 of them given on the sprues. This is 24 of them because 2 of them get used for what we're about to go over with the chain at the back here. I gotta leave 1 out for that. I'm gonna remove the rest because this is gonna start getting back to hairy. So now we're coming to, I'm going to lift this off here. We're coming to the back over here, and you're supposed to take 32 millimeters of the chain right here, 32 millimeters, and attach it to both the hook on the trailer arm right here on the ramp, and then glue that glue that D-ring with the chain through it down here. Now, in real life, what I've seen as far as these tie-down chains go for ramps, is if they are an integrated part of the trailer, which these would seem to be, and I will have to look at the prototype to see how it's done, but instead of having a D-ring per se, they weld one of the links of the chain right to the deck, and then they have some way of attaching it onto this. The way that this is set up right now is unbelievable, because right now I can't lower this down without breaking this chain all the way down. It's in transport mode, but in real life there's no way to disassemble this. There's no hook. So what we would normally do with something this big is you'd run a hook through there, and this would be a short chain, and you'd hook it on that. It'd be through the D-ring. It'd run up to this hole right up here. You can't run a hook through that, so you would hook that with the chain, and between that hook and the chain on that D-ring, you could tighten it up and then latch the chain on, or the hook onto the chain to get it tight enough. The problem with that is while you're bouncing down the road all over the place, that hook can come loose. So if it is welded on here and you can somehow run it up into something on this and hook it, that can't bounce out. In my case, I've seen trailers that have little slots in the side, and you just put the chain link through that slot. Then you can secure your ramp with very little issue. See, that's as far down as that'll go right now with that chain. So just so you know that this isn't quite kosher for real life, but we're going to work with what we got. And the way I work with what I have with this, what I found out through a lot of trial and error, is you need to take the last link on one end, and I'm running it through my tweezers, my forceps here, sorry, to round out this piece at the end. And get that a little more open. So now that I've opened that up a bit, I'm taking my nips and I'm putting a cut. Now I have to say, Hobby Boss has some pretty awesome chain in that these chain links they're not linked together one U shape. They are like complete links. There's no break that I can see in there at all. I'm impressed. But what I need to do is open that up enough. Actually, if I remember right, yeah, that's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, run this through the ring on here, like so, if you can see that. I'd spread that out, I run the link through there, and then I'm going to tighten it, or it's going to fall off. And that's the problem with running around with this stuff like this, is these links start to come apart. Now, why am I not doing this with the D-ring? Because I already had forgotten shortly, well, I guess not so shortly, I came up with this a few days ago. There, it's back on. Anyways, I came up with two different ways because they're two different setups. This is like I said, a circle ring that is hard to get this chain into. Feed that through. Doesn't help that my forceps tip had become unkempt, not pinching well. Must have pinched down just enough it's not going over the ring. I'm going to test it here. Yep, it's a little too narrow. So this is basically ring maker work. Untaper it like so. So it's wide enough that it can go around that ring. Get it through a link. Like so. Oh, doggone it all. Okay, my mistake. I already had a link set up here, and I did tweezer launch that other one. So what you want to do is when you do the cut with the forceps, you want to go on the long side, not on the end. And that's what made it easier. Now, I had this one left over as a last time because I'll show you with the D-ring how I do that. And I didn't need an open-ended part for a D-ring. But anyways, this makes it easier to hook it through and not lose the chain in the process. You want to make it like a C rather than like a V. And that might not make much sense now, but it will when you're doing this. The hard part is just getting it all to stay together. Don't knock your trailer on the floor. I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but I have a disconnect in my brain. I have this chain held tight in my hand, and I go to move it to hook it around that part. Okay, I don't know where that went. Still don't know where that went. And it looks like one of these fell off from somewhere. Oh, that's the part that I thought I lost. That must have bounced back over. Now, the good news is that you get extra chain in about this much if you lose the end like I just did. Thought it fell down in here, but oh, yep, there it is right there. Well, actually, that's the other one, the original one. This is the one like I was saying. Don't do it like this. Well, we're still going to work with this. But you can see that even when I put these in, they don't necessarily want to stay. They want to spin and move and... And once you get it on, you got to clamp it down. Now, this is where you'll probably see in some videos people are just gluing the chain to the ends and calling it good. And there is that, but you can tell upon inspection that they're just glued, like they were welded on, so to speak, which is not necessarily, I guess, bad, but... if you're in this game for realism, and I know that it's kind of going long, try putting this on its side, that might help showcase this, but I don't want to necessarily flip the trailer over, so it's another one of those watch and see what you can. So this is trying to twist every time I'm trying to tighten it down. And, you know, you sit and ask yourself, why am I in this hobby? This drives me crazy, that sort of thing, but... and this does drive, I mean, this is a challenge. This is absolutely a challenge, 100%. And I think having this on its side is making it, yeah, see, that wanted to go sideways there, is making this even more of a challenge. So, it doesn't look like I can lay this on its side and get it to work. and the other one that I cut that worked. So since that's not working out so well, I'm going to take one of these off of here, and before I do anything, I want to stretch it out again with my tweezers, forceps, just a little bit. I want it big enough to where it's gonna, the problem is that the chain itself right now isn't gonna fit, the hole in there isn't gonna fit around the circle of the plastic for the ring. So I'm gonna take, now that I've improved that, I'm gonna cut this right here instead and give me a C shape. And I will have to stretch this a little bit, one to get it over that ring, but one to get it off of that as well. And you want to stretch it out however you need to, carefully, just so you can get it over that ring. And while I'm on it, I'm going to re-hook this chain to it. Rehook the chain like so. Take it. What I want to do is I want to have the opening to the outside. And it wants to fight me a little bit. I mean, physics is physics, but I'm thinking I can take it and it can laugh at me. This was not easy before, it's not easy now. There. I can get it in there, I can get it to hook, and then it falls off. So if you get frustrated with this, you're not alone. This is not easy. The way that they designed this doesn't really help. And honestly, I can't think of a 3D part that's going to fix this problem yet. But I will work on it, because this could be very useful for a lot of trucks. I have attached that, and now I'm going to squeeze this together as best I can. And in doing this, your mileage may vary. I fully understand that. And different pairs of forceps might work better. And it's off the hook. I don't even know how I got it to work last time. This is kind of frustrating. I don't feel like I'm teaching anything at this point. I feel like I'm just frustrated. Okay, I've got the hook piece back in. It's the squeezing the chain link back that's the hardest part right now. And trying to get these hooked, because they're at 90 degrees to each other. Right now the hook is fine and I can see that, but I can't necessarily hook it. Stay with me. We will get this one way or the other. I did one, I can do two. feel like I'm one tool short. I'm not sure what that tool would be, but maybe a forceps without such a thin needle tip. I do have such forceps, I just don't know where they are. Something that would allow me to... There we go. Something that would allow me to squeeze this into shape without necessarily screwing stuff up. Well, I pretty much got it. So, anyway, that's done. So what I've done with the other end here is, because I'm already putting a U shape in for the that D-ring, I don't need to cut this. I just need to make this big enough, like so, that I can take this and pass it through. And it takes a little trial and error, but there we go, like so. Now, the important thing to note about it is it doesn't want to stay in the chain. It keeps wanting to turn this way and jump off the chain. That makes it difficult. So that's why what I was doing is gluing this You can't really get a finger in there to hold it down or adjust it or bring it up on this right, and with that chain in there it tends to twist it a little bit, and so I get it close like that, get some glue in there, but I don't want to glue the chain to the deck. Now that I've got a little glue in there and it's close, I can use these to kind of push it into position, and then I lift it a little bit off the deck, like so. So that was a lot of squirreling around, and it's been a half an hour messing with this. And I've got to do this run on this side yet, but what you can see is we've got these chains on, and now I've got to just glue this part on. And I'm waited till now specifically to glue this part on, but it's exactly the same as the other side, as in super glue, and put it right on there, and it's got to glue onto this fender frame right there. So let me get my glue set up. And then we will glue that on, and we'll be done with step 19. Like I said, I will go back and glue those other D-rings on, so we don't have to sit and watch me do that. It's enticing and scintillating, I'm sure, but so we've got our photo etched piece. Make sure that's good. Right here, I know where it's going on there. Now I take my little helper to put glue on. This is going to be glued because that's going to touch. This will touch, but it's not going to be that much. So don't put a lot of glue on that. And then this will touch down here at the bottom. And that's where we're going to put most of our energy into. Making sure this fits. Okay, so that's actually too far forward. All right, so the part that has the glue and the most tack I'm just cleaning a little bit, is this right here. This is going to be your main point. This is a secondary point. So I'm going to put some more glue on here, and I've got a better idea where it's all going to go now. Put some more glue on there. I'm just going to use my fingers this time. There we go. That's better. Now, I want to make sure these two things right here are glued well. So I'm going to take some extra glue right down the back side of this and run that down. And that looks better than I thought. As far as all of that. So there we have step 19 finished. You've seen the difficulties of dealing with it, so be prepared. And I'll see you for step 20.